Heel elevated suitcase squat. Now, when performing this exercise, using 2 dumbbells or 2 kettlebells, it's fine. Just make sure that the weight is even in both arms. And then we're going to be using a small elevation for our heels. Now here, I'm using a 2.5 kilo weight plate. It's about 2 or 3 centimeters in thickness. You can use a dumbbell. You can use a thick bumper plate. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that there's a decent amount of elevation, and more importantly from a safety perspective, it's not going to slip and slide out from underneath you, which sometimes can happen with a dumbbell, especially if it's a spinning one. If it's a hex dumbbell where it's sort of fixed, then that is a safer alternative. So placing the elevation sort of in your squat stance, for me that's just outside of hip width. For you that might be hip width, it might be wider, and that's fine. Stepping on top of your elevation, grabbing your weight either side. Only part of my heel is on top of the elevation, not my entire foot. That part is key. Now, the key part of this movement is being conscious of your posture and making sure that the dumbbell doesn't smash into the side of your thighs. So you really want to slightly just hold them out to the side, hence the name suitcase squat. So I'm set on the placement, on the heel elevation. Weight is slightly out to the side. Good posture, looking straight ahead. I'm going to sink down as deep as I can into a squat and then come up. Down into a squat and then coming up. One more and then coming up. So key things to be aware of when performing this exercise: keeping the weight slightly out to the side so that it's not bumping into you. Practicing full range of motion, going as deep and as low as you can. Keeping your gaze forward so that your posture doesn't compromise. You don't want to be slouching when performing this exercise. Everything should be out, the weight should be out to the side, not out in front. And that ties back into having good posture. And then lastly, focus on pushing through your midfoot. That might not make sense to some people, but the idea is you want to be placing pressure through your heel and your toe so that you've got even pressure against your entire foot, which will help put you in the most balanced position throughout the exercise. So easy way to think of that, push through your midfoot, simple. Last would just be controlling the movement of your knees. Ideally, they wouldn't really move too much. There's a small degree of variance and change as you perform the exercise, and that's okay, right? What's key and important is making sure that it's not an excessive amount. If your foot is literally lifting up off the ground in either direction, and your knees either touching each other, it's getting that close, or they're so far apart that your foot is literally peeling off the ground, then you're performing the movement incorrectly. The knee should just travel in line with the toes, with whatever placement they're in, whether they're straight or pointed out. Other than that, you should feel the movement through your thighs, and if you're doing it correctly, a little bit through your core, as it requires good posture to perform.